Welcome to this week's update on us restoring and rehabbing these vineyards and these fruit trees. This fruit forest, how about that? Food forest, it's a food forest, that's what it is. So I'll recap what we left off at last week. We had trimmed all these apple trees right in here. We gotten these 2 pears trimmed pretty nicely. We still need to do the apple and we need to chip all the brush. We got these grapes trimmed back and we got all our figs all the way down, given a decent haircut. What are we gonna work on this week? Well, we're gonna work on that apple tree, maybe a little bit more on this pear tree, just on this west side. This is the west side over here. And then we have some bigger, chunkier wood that needs to be pulled out. It's this stuff that I just don't really want to put into the chipper. It's just either too big, a little too awkward, or it's just not worth it. All that stuff is gonna end up being used for making biochar in the future, or firewood in some cases. We have a whole entire load of wood chips, and to be honest, this buggy really handles it well, considering that's a lot. I mean, we're talking, that's all the branches that were behind us. They're all gone. Everything's gone except for the big stuff. So boys, why don't you take that up and put it in the old goat hotel, okay? Put it at least in front of it and we'll spread it out in there. Perfect. So now that that's done, I'm gonna get to this apple tree. We're gonna prune this. It's a bit of a mess. I mean, it's really a bit of a mess. So I kind of have to figure out where I'm going with this. This is one of those times that I'm glad that when I was younger, I grew some bonsai trees. Now, I was never great at it. I had a couple, I think I had them for 3 or 4 years. What they taught me was how to look at a tree and how to kind of plan where it was gonna go. I'm not a professional at any of this, but when I look at a tree like this, I start to think about what can I do with it? Where is it weakest? Where is it strongest? Where do I want growth in the future? So obviously I don't want any of this growth that's like here down. That's gonna just hang so low to the ground. We're not gonna be able to get underneath here. We're not gonna be able to walk underneath here, run a mower, anything. So I wanna take a lot of that out. I also wanna take some of these bigger branches that are just reaching all the way over, and they are literally 25 feet from the base of the tree. I wanna take some of those out. A lot of this stuff up top that's just going straight up. Some of it's already cracked, some of it's snapped, some of it will break over the next year. I wanna take some of that out. And so over the next couple years, we will have fewer apples up here, but we'll have a healthier tree. And hopefully this old apple tree that's this is probably put up here originally when Herman moved up here. Probably about 60 years old. That's my guess, it's right around there. This old apple tree will be healthy.
Have you ever had one of those weeks when you had everything planned out? Matter of fact, I even made a whole entire intro to this video where I talked about the next area we're gonna do, what we were gonna get done, and then I looked at the weather and it said possibly a chance of cold and ice. And I said, oh, it's not a big deal, I won't worry about it. Well, it turns out the weathermen were right this time. Now, we didn't get 13 inches of snow like they predicted, but we got slammed with some really cold weather like the rest of you. And we got ice and it became a mess. And so this week's plans of trimming a bunch of trees, they went out the window. And we went into let's make sure all the animals have food and water mode. And I hope you get some laughs because at one point I almost froze my lips to the end of a hose. Too bad I didn't get that on camera. But I got the audio.
All right, well, it's a bit of a wintry mix today. It is really cold. We're in the teens, actually. So whenever it gets cold, I always bring out hay to the cows, so this is no different. So we're gonna bring out a bay of haylage. They've been out here mooing, and I can understand because everything is covered in ice. Where does this haylage come from, and why do I do haylage? Well, this haylage is off one of our other fields, so it's no spray, it's organic, we don't do anything to it. Now, why do we do haylage? I do haylage because I don't have a barn for big bales. And so the cost of doing a barn for big bales is quite a bit. And since I don't have that, well, I do haylage. It does cost a little bit more to wrap them, but it means this is already fermented. And because it's already fermented, it's already partially digested for the cows in a way, which makes it way easier on a really cold day like today for them to get all the calories they need. Well, that's one set of animals taken care of. Let's head up to Herman's, make sure the dogs have extra feed up there, as well as the cats, and we're gonna take some hay up to the goats. Well, because in this type of weather, there's nothing for them to eat. That wind's really blowing today. All right, I threw the hay over, I got the dog feed over. All right, so that's kind of what we do. We usually make a windbreak out of it, and that helps because there's a metal on the other side that breaks the wind from that direction. And then I come in, hi, and I give my Merle some love. Hi, big guy, how are you? Hi, Rebus. And then I come in and I usually take one of the middle ones, and I'll show you, I just cut one of the 3 strings. Now, these bales are not like the smaller bales that you can typically buy. These are about 120 pounds, so they're bigger bales. So I just cut 1 string usually, and that loosens up the top and makes it easier for them to feed on. All right, let's go take care of the dogs and make sure they have plenty of food. Oh, you guys know what's in this box, don't you? All right, this is our dog feeder. I'll put you right here for right now. This is our dog feeder. And it had dog food in it, but we had about a day's worth left. So I'm gonna fill this up and then put it back in here. The dogs can come and get as much food as they need, and it just comes out as it needs to. And my dogs come through that little hole. Come on, Merlesy, come here. Oh, you big old muggles. You've been doing that since you were a puppy, huh? Look at that, isn't that magical? All right, come on, Reba, come on, get your love, come here. Come on, come on. I'll give you love too, come on. Oh, there you are. All right. Are you gonna siphon? Clay, come here. Oh, oh, don't do that. Do not touch it with your lips. It froze immediately to my lips. Well, it's the next day, and we are gonna go check on the goats, but we're gonna do something a little different today that we haven't done in the past, because this frost, this cold weather is supposed to last 3 more days. So last night about 11, I believe, right around 11, we lost power and it hasn't come back on. The good part is we have a generator set up in our shop. So I walked out to the shop, I started it. The exhaust for it is plumbed right outside, right through the wall. So we start it. I leave it running every 6 hours or so. I go and put another 5 gallons in. And then we have power, everything runs, we're good. And we have plenty of fuel because we had all fuel delivered to our home farm. But that means when I come up here for these guys, if I come up every day like I do, and I have to smash water and de-thaw water, that water is gonna be frozen, especially when it's only in the teens, it's gonna be frozen within a matter of hours. At least the top is. So we're gonna do something a little different. I've never done this, so you're gonna come along for the adventure. We've never really had multiple days where the weather has been like this to the point where our water froze. Occasionally we'll get a little frost on top, but it's never anything more than that. You can tell they've gotten through it a few times, probably last night. But this will need an axe to smash. All right, now what about the feed situation here? They've slowly nibbled on them, eaten on them, spread some of it out underneath. You can see, And now all those wood chips we threw underneath here, that's bedding now. Now, it's not great bedding, but it's better bedding than nothing. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start a fire. That's what we're gonna do. What I did was I put it on top of this piece of bark that I knew was dry, and then I just built up a little pile of wood that'll turn into really good embers. And the reason I boxed it in the way I did is to create a limited amount of airflow through here so we can really get the embers going quickly. This is how I usually start a fire, but I don't normally start a fire on the top of a hill. I am using something a little unique. Some people call it pitchwood, sapwood. This is wood that is very saturated with pitch, so it's like having kerosene. And so once it gets lit, it really goes. Now, the one thing we're gonna have the downside of is the wind. We do have some wind up here. So you can see this, once this starts, it really goes, it really starts. Now you can see that black, that's because it's got all that pitch in there. So I'm just gonna get this going and then try to get it in here and keep it lit. That's gonna be the trick, is gonna be get it in there and keep it lit. So what I'm trying to do by doing this is keep the wind from blowing out what I have. I'm really trying to just create a nice little pocket of heat to create some embers off of. Because the breeze up here, while it's not crazy today, it's consistent and it'll blow out a little fire like that so easily. But you can see from this side, see all that? See that? That's how much wind's blowing through here. So I'm trying to block some of that, just a little bit of it, because it's gonna keep cranking through here. All right, well, Clint and I are done. Now, there is one downside to this whole little setup that we created here. The downside to what we have, we went from that little fire that I was showing you we built, and then I spread out some of the embers, and then I kind of built a little bit of wall with some unburnt wood to help the fire, because the wind is coming this way, to help the fire kind of move down and through the rest of it. And then I put the logs on top, because that'll all settle in, and hopefully we'll have a good bed of embers going through the rest of the night. Now here's the downside, and you may see the downside. The downside is none of my animals are gonna wanna drink from that, because, well, the smoke. The smoke is going right over the top of it. That is a downside right now, that is true. But later this evening, that won't be a downside, because there won't really be much smoke. And since this fire's only really been going for about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes since we started here, I'm not really worried about that. I think in the next probably hour or two, we're not gonna be here, but in the next hour or two, most of that smoke should go away. And by evening or middle of the night, when I'm really more concerned about them being able to get water, they will be able to get water. We'll see tomorrow if this is frozen. If this isn't frozen, I may come up with a better way to do this whole entire system, because we really only have this problem about, what, once or twice a year?
Yeah.
It's usually once or twice a year. I do want to see if that hot bed of embers will keep the water warm through night, because I'm not looking for it to be hot. It just needs to be warm enough so it doesn't freeze and my animals have water in the morning. Because that's really the issue, is can they have water for 24 hours, let's say, till I show up again, if we do a system like this. Now in the future, I probably wouldn't sit here and build a whole little fire. We'd probably come up with something a little bit better. Maybe even build a trough with a firebox attached to it. That might be what we do, and come up, just build a fire in that little firebox. Maybe it has a little chimney that goes up, nothing fancy, just enough you get it burning, get it nice and hot, and then you close it all down and you just allow that to go through the night. That might be the option, is something like a little firebox. And to be honest, some of you may have already invented something like that, and I may just be late to the game, but I've never seen one, I've never heard of one, I've never even looked into it. So this is what we came up with, and we wanted to try it, because without trying it, we have no idea if it'll work, right?
Yeah.
Day 3 of the cold in our area, and our little water trough experiment. So it has worked in the sense that we are 24 hours since I was up here yesterday. They have had water, and they've actually had one spot that they've continuously kind of licked and been able to get their nose in. There you go, right there. And that's actually how they're drinking. So they are able to get water through that. So I'm not gonna start another fire today, but in the future, I am gonna take this barrel down. Like I said, put a little heater box on it, and we're gonna use a little heater box to make sure these guys have plenty of water, because they are actually using this trough. And we have a couple hours, we'll probably get some work done. Even though it's cold out, we're gonna get some work done on that apple tree. We're almost done. The one area I needed to clear out was between that branch and the house, or those branches in the house. That needed to be cleared out because those branches were resting on the roof. And then there's some stuff in here and over here that still needs to be done. But to give you an idea of what we've gotten done, that is the brush pile. We're not gonna chip that today. It's a little too cold for that. Clint's actually inside making a little fire because we're gonna work out here for a little bit, and then we're gonna call it for the evening. So you can see these broken branches right there. Those are the type of thing that we were getting year after year. So we're gonna take those out. We're gonna take a lot of this tall, lanky stuff that's coming from the middle of the tree outwards. We're gonna take some of that out. When it's this dense of a canopy, you don't get good airflow, which means you get a lot of scab on your apples. So if you ever see apples on an apple tree and they have like they literally look like a scab on it, that is actually caused by a lack of airflow. And so a fungus actually can sit on the skin and cause that scab to happen. All right, well, we're starting to get some freezing rain. I think I'm done for the night. There's not really much else I can do to this tree. A couple little bits and pieces I can come in and do a little bit of thinning. There's some branches I cut that are still stuck up in there. I'm gonna pull this out another day when it's not freezing rain. And, but I think we're gonna move on. Yes, technically I'd like to thin out a lot more of this, but I also don't want to not have any apples, because if I don't have any apples, it doesn't matter how good of a job I did pruning this tree, Herman would be upset. So we will have apples. We'll have plenty of apples for Herman. We'll have good healthy ones. Make some cider out of them. Have a great rest of the week. We appreciate you stopping by, and thank you for coming on this journey of transforming this beautiful 100-year-old farm that we have here that we're so in love with. All right, have a good one. Bye.